G'day, welcome back to LOTED. We are learning one thing every day. My name's Wayne. I run Learn Well Books. We're an international best-selling book publishing house. We produce books across the 5 most important areas of life: health, relationships, money, productivity, and mindset. And through our work, we come across some amazing information. And not all of it's going to end up in a book, but we find one piece of information across these 5 areas and share that with you every day. It's our intention to make a positive difference in your life across one of these 5 areas every day: mindset, health, productivity, money, or relationships. I've got a new problem in my life that's occurred because I started using TikTok. Now, originally it was for work, but the power of that thing is unbelievable. And the amount of time that I've unwillingly given that is just not cool. In addition, and perhaps even worse than that, is that I've watched as my ability to concentrate on a task has kept on reducing. So I've had to go down the path that I guess is found when a person searches things like dopamine detox. Now, that's a common rally cry for a lot of people that just want to ditch their phone for a bit of peace of mind, a lot more concentration, and a feeling of overcoming the addictive state that they've fallen into with their phones. And I'm one of them. But what I've discovered on this journey is that when people go cold turkey, they often rebound even harder than when they tried to break the addiction. So they might stop using apps and using social media for 2 or 7 days, but then they just reinstall all the apps and just binge. And that makes people feel awful and makes them feel like they've failed. But it's not that they failed. They've just not understood how dopamine works. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. That's serotonin and endorphins. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. Our brains release dopamine when we're expecting a reward, not when we get one. That's why scrolling doesn't feel satisfying. It's because we're constantly chasing the expectation of a reward. But when we find what we're hunting, there's no payoff. And so the dopamine drops and then we immediately go hunting again. Isn't that interesting? We're getting a reward not because what we're doing is good, but because we expect it to be good. And the devices that we use are optimized to maximize for this. Infinite scrolling, variable rewards, and notifications that create that anticipation. They've created this system that keeps us seeking without ever delivering satisfaction. People call it a dopamine detox, but that's not right. We detox from toxins, things that are bad for us, but dopamine isn't something that we don't want. In fact, dopamine is essential for our motivation and focus. It's just that we're dopamine dysregulated because the source that we use for our dopamine delivers high frequency, low quality dopamine. And it makes good activities that also deliver dopamine, high quality dopamine, like exercise, conversations, reading. It makes them comparatively dull. But just by locking your phone in a drawer for a week, it doesn't reset your dopamine system. Your brain doesn't forget what it feels like to anticipate rewards. Instead, that creates a void, a sudden absence of the dopamine hits that your brain has become used to receiving. So your brain does anything it can to fill that void and rebounds heavily using the same behavior that it knows. When you go cold turkey, your brain experiences something close to panic. You feel bored, restless, and irritable because you're expecting the rewards and not getting them. This isn't you failing. This is your neurobiology working. Some people can white knuckle it and push through for a few days, but eventually they'll crack and they won't just go back to their baseline behavior, they'll binge. This is the same behavior as crash dieting. Severe restrictions that lead to intense cravings and then binge behavior, which leads to guilt and then a repeat of the restrictions. This creates a loop of failure, not freedom. So what actually works? It's not to create a void and just hope that your brain doesn't notice. Your brain needs dopamine and it'll do what it has to do to get it. You just need to offer it better paths. Replace low quality dopamine with high quality. Gradually redirect your behavior to sources that will satisfy your need for dopamine without the dysregulation. Instead of deleting every single app, just find the worst one and replace it with a new intention. Increasingly, I found that when I hit a mental hurdle, something that was mentally challenging, I would stop what I was doing and turn to TikTok as some form of relief. And I could easily lose 10 minutes scrolling. Now, instead of going to TikTok, I'll get up and go outside for some fresh air. Another perfect alternative is that I'll pick up my phone and text a friend. The expectation of the reply is giving me the dopamine that I need, but it's also constructive. I'm actually maintaining a healthy relationship with a friend. Next, add friction. Take your apps from your home screen and put them in a folder. When access requires just that extra step, that's enough friction to make you think twice before using them. Also, there's an amazing feature on your phone which is called grayscale. And I use it. It completely changes all of the colors on every app on your phone to a gray scale. It's amazing the psychological difference that it makes when you look at your phone and all you can see is gray. Also, you can create time limits for each of the apps. And again, that extra step is enough friction to help you to make a new decision. Also, find a lot of occasions to put your phone in another room. 3 ones that come to mind are when you're having a conversation with someone, during meals, or during periods of work where you really need to focus on something. These things don't feel like punishment. They just feel like building better habits. Our intention isn't to be phone free. It's to be phone intentional. So there's really just 2 steps to dopamine regulation. The first is find the worst app and replace that with a new behavior. Secondly, add friction. Apps in folders, grayscale, time limits, and your phone in another room. We don't want to go cold turkey. We just want to gradually replace the sources of our dopamine. These incremental changes stick. Big purges fail. I'm on this journey with you and these things are helping. I hope you found them helpful too. Thanks for watching LoTED. Remember, if you want to be interesting, you've got to stay interested. And that's why we learn one thing every day. I'll see you tomorrow.